Let's rewind the clock to 1746 and journey to North Africa. This isn't the North Africa you might imagine from old movies or simplified history books. It's a vast, diverse region stretching from Morocco's Atlantic coast to the deserts of Libya, a place caught between ancient traditions and the dawn of a new global era. It's a world that was neither medieval nor fully modern, but something far more complex and fascinating. In 1746, North Africa wasn't one giant empire. Politically, it was a mosaic of different powers. In the west, Morocco stood as a proud, independent kingdom ruled by the Alawite dynasty. They were masters of diplomacy, skillfully playing European powers against each other to protect their sovereignty. Further east, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli were semi-independent provinces of the Ottoman Empire. They recognized the Sultan in Istanbul, but in reality, they were governed by local rulers called Deys or Beys. These men held power through military might, intricate social networks, and control over the bustling Mediterranean trade routes. Ottoman influence was present, but these provinces operated with a remarkable degree of freedom, showcasing the limits of imperial power across vast deserts and seas. Let's zoom in on Morocco. The year 1746 found the kingdom in a period of instability under Sultan Moulay Abdallah. His reign was a constant struggle for power, a reminder that leadership here was never a given. Tribal alliances, religious leaders, and city elites all had a say in who ruled. But even with this political turbulence, cities like Fez, Marrakesh, and Meknes were thriving. They were vibrant hubs of learning, art, and commerce. Their beautiful mosques, schools, and bustling markets were the anchors of Moroccan society, reinforcing a deep Islamic identity connected to both the Mediterranean and crucially to sub-Saharan Africa through ancient trade routes that carried gold, salt, and ideas across the desert. Now, let's head east along the coast to Algiers. In 1746, Algiers was a formidable naval power. To Europeans, it was a key part of the Barbary coast, a name that often reflected their own fears more than reality. Algiers wasn't just a pirate hideout. It was a sophisticated port city. Its economy was built on a combination of maritime trade, diplomacy, and yes, privateering. Algerian corsairs did capture European ships and sailors, but this wasn't simple piracy. It was part of a wider Mediterranean system of raiding and ransom that involved Christian and Muslim states alike. Many European nations that publicly condemned the corsairs were privately negotiating treaties and paying for access to these very same ports. Next door in Tunis, we find another critical hub. Governed by the Hassanid dynasty, Tunis expertly balanced its loyalty to the Ottoman Sultan with its own autonomy. The city was a flourishing center of trade and culture, connecting the agricultural heartlands to markets in Italy, France, and Spain. Its society was a rich tapestry woven from Arab, Berber, Ottoman, and African threads. You could see it in the architecture, taste it in the food, and hear it in the languages spoken on the street. It was a place that defied any simple label. A little further down the coast lies Tripoli, in modern-day Libya. Though smaller, it held immense strategic importance as the gateway between the Mediterranean and the vast Saharan interior. In 1746, the Karamanli dynasty was consolidating its power, creating a hereditary regime that further loosened ties with the Ottoman Empire. This was a classic example of how ambitious local rulers could adapt and reshape imperial structures to fit their own needs and ambitions. The entire region was a dynamic chessboard of power. So what fueled these societies? The economy was a mix of agriculture, trade, and taxation. The fertile coastal plains grew wheat, olives, and fruit, while nomadic herders roamed the vast interior. And let's not forget the trans-Saharan caravans. These ancient routes were still the lifeblood connecting North Africa to West and Central Africa. They carried goods north and brought Mediterranean products south. A powerful reminder that North Africa was as much an African world as it was a Mediterranean one, despite European attempts to draw a line between them. A difficult but essential part of this economy was slavery. In 1746, this was a deeply embedded institution. It involved enslaved Africans brought north across the Sahara, as well as Europeans captured at sea or during coastal raids. The lives of enslaved people varied enormously, but the institution itself was central to the region's economy and social structure. It's a complex and uncomfortable history that challenges us to look at systems of unfreedom across different parts of the world. Religious life was overwhelmingly Islamic. Sunni Islam shaped law, education, and daily routines across the region. But this unity also contained diversity. Long-standing Jewish communities thrived, especially in Morocco and Tunisia. They were vital parts of the urban fabric, working as artisans, traders, and crucial intermediaries between Muslim rulers and European merchants. While legally their status was subordinate, they were integral to the economy. Small communities of Christian merchants and captives also lived within these societies, their status constantly being negotiated. For the average person in 1746, life followed timeless rhythms. Markets buzzed at dawn, calls to prayer marked the passing of the day, and life revolved around family and neighborhood. Yet, this stability was fragile. Drought, disease, tribal warfare, or a political power shift could upend everything. The threat of famine was a constant companion, especially in areas dependent on unpredictable rainfall, a factor historians now recognize as a major force in shaping this era. Culturally, this was a world rich in oral tradition, poetry, and music. Stories were shared in coffee houses and homes, not just read from books. Artisans produced exquisite textiles, ceramics, and leather goods that were prized far and wide. The architecture itself was a work of art, with homes and palaces cleverly designed for the climate, balancing the need for privacy with the importance of community. These were not static traditions, but living arts that evolved with the times. And what about Europe? Its presence loomed large. Powers like France, Britain, and Spain were all competing for trade, influence, and security in the Mediterranean. They used a mix of diplomacy, tribute payments, and the occasional show of military force. While European accounts from the time often paint North Africa as exotic or threatening, North African rulers saw Europe pragmatically. They viewed it as a collection of rival states to be managed, manipulated, or resisted as needed. This long history of mutual misunderstanding and strategic interaction would shape the region for centuries. The wider world also played a part. In 1746, the War of the Austrian Succession was rocking Europe, and the ripples were felt all across the Mediterranean. Naval blockades and shifting alliances affected trade prices and political decisions in North African ports. It set clear sign that this region was deeply plugged into global events long before the age of steam and telegraphs. The lives of women were defined by a mix of Islamic law, local custom, and social class. Their roles differed greatly between the city and the countryside. While women's public lives were often restricted, they held significant influence within the family, managed property, participated in crafts, and maintained the social networks that held communities together. Their voices may be quiet in the male-dominated historical records, but their impact was undeniable. Justice was a blend of Islamic courts, local customs, and the direct authority of rulers. This created a legal system that could be both flexible and arbitrary. It was a world where order was maintained not just by top-down decrees, but through negotiation, mediation, and compromise and necessity, in a land where central authority often struggled to reach remote areas. So, North Africa in 1746 was not some backward, isolated land waiting for Europe to discover it. It was a confident, interconnected, and culturally vibrant world. It stood on the brink of immense change. Within a century, European imperialism and industrialization would completely redraw the map and reshape life in the region. But to understand that later story, we have to appreciate North Africa as it was in 1746, resilient, complex, and shaped by a history far deeper than the modern borders we see today. It's a crucial chapter in our shared human story. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey back in time, be sure to like and subscribe for more.